When I was 13, my mom and dad left for a trip for the weekend, leaving me with the whole house to myself. As a 13-year-old girl with strict parents, this was incredibly exciting because I could invite as many friends over as I wanted. Once they had left, I called all my friends about 20 minutes later, telling them to come over. Most of them declined, knowing they would get in trouble with my parents if they got caught, but a few of them agreed. It took about 15 minutes for most of my friends to arrive. Once they did, we watched movies, ate snacks, and enjoyed ourselves. Around 9:30 p.m., they all left, and I was alone again. Deciding there was nothing else to do, I went to bed. Later that night, I woke up to the sound of glass breaking downstairs. As a young girl, this was my worst fear, so I hid in my closet, trembling, and eventually fell asleep there. I woke at 9:45 a.m. to my alarm, but hesitated to turn it off, sensing something wasn't right. I thought that if I turned it off, whoever had broken in would know I was upstairs, assuming they were still there. And I was right. I heard footsteps rushing upstairs and into my room. My heart was pounding, and I was shaking, trying my best to text someone for help. Then I received a text from my mom. The banner read, "Mom, attachment, 1 image." I opened the text and saw a picture of a man in my house, upstairs, in my room. My heart sank, realizing that any noise could lead to my death. My mom sent several texts asking if I was okay and informing me that she was calling the police. I felt a wave of relief. But then I saw the shadow of the intruder standing in front of my closet, facing it. For about 20 minutes he stood there while I tried to suppress my cries, repeating in my head, "Noises equals death. Noises equals death." Finally, I heard police sirens outside. The shadow disappeared as the intruder fled my room. I wasn't sure whether to leave the closet or stay put, but I remained there until a policeman entered and announced himself. I opened the door and nearly burst into tears upon seeing him. It turned out the intruder was my mom's special needs brother, who had planned to kill me. He had stood in front of the closet for so long because he was contemplating different ways to do it. The smell of my presence somehow made it easier for him to think. He never realized I was inside the closet. This happened 10 years ago, but I remember it as if it were yesterday. It's about 1 in the morning. I know I should be asleep right now, but it's one of those restless nights where my mind is racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I am stressing about getting enough sleep for work tomorrow at 6 a.m. The room is calm, pitch black, and cold. As a hot sleeper, I always have the ceiling fan on, appreciating it for both the cool air and the background noise as I sleep. I pull the blankets close to my chest and finally start to doze off when I hear something. It's not the sound of something moving or falling, but rather the presence of someone. It's like when you're playing hide and seek as a child and you can sense the presence of others moving quietly, trying their best not to be found. But I hear it. The room turns warm and unsettling. I am so scared and I can't move. That's when I realize the ceiling fan is turned off. I didn't hear the light switch, nor did I notice when it stopped. Against my gut feeling, I decide to look and see who or what is there. I sit up as fast as I can and shout, "Hey!" hoping it might frighten the presence, but there's nothing. I lay my head back down on the pillow, and that's when I feel it, the warm breath of something on my neck. I turn around as quickly as I can, only to see a black figure in the shadows. It's bent down next to me, with bloodshot eyes and the smallest pupils I've ever seen. Its skin is moist and shredded. Its arms and fingers are abnormally long and frail. I freeze in terror. Then it whispers, I scream as hard as I've ever screamed before. The creature starts shouting, don't, over and over again. The voice sounds like an old man who has been chain smoking for years, and its breath smells like rotten meat. I get up as fast as I can to turn on the lamp. As quickly as it had appeared, it vanishes. The next morning, I call into work sick. I can't sleep for days, haunted by the thought that it might return. I still don't know what that creature was or why it came to me, but now I sleep with the lights on. I'm going to tell you a story that happened with my uncle's friend. This story is from 2007, about my uncle's friend named Sudarshan. He got a job as a lab assistant in a hospital in Bardhaman district, Kolkata. The hospital was a bit away from the town, situated in a desolate area. Sudarshan was provided with a room to stay there, but when he entered the hospital, he felt a strange chill inside. Ignoring it, he started his work. When he returned to his room at night, he found it in disarray, as if a storm had swept through, scattering his clothes everywhere. Assuming it was due to the wind, he ignored it and went to sleep. Around 1 a.m., he heard a knocking on his door. Opening it, he saw a man in a doctor's white coat, but his face was not visible. Sudarshan lit the outside light, and when he turned back, the man was gone. Perplexed, he thought it might be his imagination and went to sleep. An hour later, there was another knock on his door. This time, when he opened it, a doctor named Bidhan in a white coat was standing there. They talked for a while, but in the morning, Sudarshan couldn't find any trace of Dr. Bidhan in the hospital. A month later, when Sudarshan inquired about Dr. Bidhan, no one knew of such a person. Shocked, he checked the records and found no evidence of a Dr. Bidhan. When he returned to his room that night, there was no knocking on the door. However, around 2:30 a.m., he felt another knock, but he decided not to open it. Around 3 a.m., he sensed a presence near his bed and saw Dr. Bidhan again, this time with a hidden face. Suddenly, Dr. Bidhan began strangling Sudarshan. Darkness covered Sudarshan's eyes, and when he woke up, it was 8 a.m. He checked his neck and found marks. Terrified, he asked around the hospital and learned from an old man that Dr. Bidhan had lived there about 40 years ago. He was a good doctor but had mysteriously died in a room in the hospital, tarnishing its reputation. And since that day, Sudarshan quit his job.